Welcome back to the Peptides for Women podcast. I'm Jennifer Woodward, and I've been excited about this episode for a long time. I want to introduce you to the amazing Lee Anne Dunson. Lee Anne is a mom of four and a certified hormone coach specializing in helping women in perimenopause and menopause lose stubborn body fat, balance their hormones, and feel confident in their bodies. Through her signature Snatch Back Your Sexy program, she combines cutting edge strategies like microdosing GLP-1 peptides with personalized nutrition, fitness, and lifestyle plans to help women achieve lasting transformation and thrive in midlife. Welcome, Lee Anne. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm super excited too. I love it.
Yes. Okay. Now, thriving in midlife, you're the definition. I have watched you on your Instagram and your story where you went from just a normal perimenopausal woman, I mean, a fitness coach, and functional health coach, right? But a woman struggling through perimenopause to really snatching back your sexy girl and,
Yes.
and, diving into this next stage in midlife. So tell us a little bit about that evolution, that journey, what it looked like for you.
Yeah. Well, I've been in this industry for over 21 years. So I've worn many different hats in this industry, but I've been as well a gym owner. And sorry, as a gym owner, I've also, been as a health coach and then now as an integrated practitioner. But I personally, I thought at the beginning, I was just kind of like soaring along with perimenopause. Everything was like going great. Until it didn't. And so with me, I started having, started back, gosh, like maybe it was 11 years ago, where I started like having a little bit of issues with that. I'm going to be 56 here in January. So yes, so that kind of put me, in the mid 40s there. And I just started having like symptoms that I was like couldn't figure out what was going on with me. The first though sign to me was like I started noticing this was back then is it was more thyroid issues because being in this industry for as long as I have and we all thought as health coaches that we were doing the healthy things. And really coming back and looking at when this was all happening to me, which is a really interesting thing, and the way that kind of got me so interested in the practitioner side of it is I, thought I was doing great. And it was the big thing with eat everything soy. So this was about, was gosh, maybe it was a little over 11 years ago, but when it started up and everything was like soy. So back then it was like, you have soy milk is the healthy thing. We were eating soy nuts, like popping, just eating soy nuts, is the thing. And all of a sudden I started noticing like I was gaining weight around my midsection. Was so lethargic. I just did not feel right at all. Did not feel like myself. I thought, when we were as a mom of four, we think like being lethargic is just normal. Like, oh, I'm just a little bit tired, So all the kids, well, it wasn't had anything to do with the kids. That's what got me into like the whole thing of like learning about thyroid and in perimenopause and realizing that the soy was causing me to have a dysregulated thyroid. So my T3 numbers had dropped drastically. And that's what kind of got me started in this whole thing and realizing like then I started doing more testing. I'm like, let me test my thyroid. Back then they were only testing like TSH, if even that, to be honest, if even that. So started testing going, oh, my thyroid was downregulated. And then that got me into like finding more of a functional doctor that started testing then my hormones. And then at that time found out I had zero progesterone, zero testosterone. Estradiol was doing good. But that's when like kind of with me, a lot of my symptoms started. And that's when I started like really incorporating, becoming more optimized in that area. And then thought everything was great. And then fast forward to about 2.5 years ago, everything wasn't. And that's where it got me to where the same thing started happening again. But this time it wasn't my thyroid. My thyroid was great. Hormones were optimizing my hormones. But at this time it was insulin resistance that got me, which was as my estradiol was declining. So I was dealing with, insulin resistance. My pancreas needed lots of support. And that took me down to not feeling like I was thriving in menopause. I couldn't figure it out. My dog is sliding me. I couldn't figure it out at all, like what was going on, down to like working with my functional medicine doctor. And I'm wearing the CGM, I'm wearing everything. They're like, this, none of this makes sense because your diet's on point and everything is great. And we couldn't figure out, why it was going on. But to me, that was the part that took me from probably where you started watching, from the person that felt like they were thriving to not couldn't figure out what was going on with me, to not feeling like myself, starting to order, like I call it, my loose clothes from Amazon. So no more were the cute workout outfits. It was like, how baggy can I get my shirt so I didn't look like I was pregnant, and that's how I felt.
Yeah, I definitely do know that feeling. So you talked about optimizing your estrogen, your progesterone, your thyroid, all those steps were in place. I almost call it like the curse of the health coach or the healthy middle-aged woman because so many of us, like 30s and 40s, man, we're eating protein, we're going on our walks, we're getting our sun, we're exercising, we're doing all these things that we think are important. And lo and behold, our bodies betray us and we become insulin resistant. Why do you think that's happening to so many midlife women?
Well, I think a lot too has to do with what we've done in the past. I truly believe all the low carb dieting has gotten us to this place a lot, along with obviously declining in estrogen. So as our estradiol is declining, that does make us more, less insulin sensitive. And so we already are susceptible to that. But I do think that a lot of the low carb dieting that we've done in the past has gotten us to this place that we are now, where I see it with, talking to thousands and thousands of women that they're in this place. And they're still kind of in that place of like thinking that it's the carbs that's causing all this. So they're still low carb dieting, and it's really the thing that's causing the issue. And it's been for years and years and years. It's just like maybe it worked great at the beginning, but then as that estradiol is declining, it's just a fire that's starting, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that's where people just get completely stuck. And then because they keep dieting too, thinking that this is what the issue is, the dieting and all that. But really is, I think there's a lot. So my story comes from two, not only did I help, go to support my pancreas to help with that, because I ended up with a 5.8 A1C.
Okay.
And we couldn't get it down. And I'll never forget my functional medicine doctor looked at it. She said, your blood work doesn't match your lifestyle.
Mhm.
And I was like, it's so true because it didn't match. And I was like, so that was one of the things too. And at that time, I wasn't doing the low carbs. I had worked time on healing my body, with that. But I needed support with that. And I think there's another thing, and this might be, I mean, we can kind of talk a little bit about, but a lot of it too is that us as women, we also deal with we've had trauma in the past, and to our body, I would say the body, there's a book, was the body tells a score or holds a score or something like that. And our body, like our pancreas too, if we've had some trauma that's not released too, our body holds on to all that, like the bladder and all that. So I worked on fixing my insulin resistance, but I also worked with doing some NET and releasing, also supporting my body, releasing any trauma, anything that my body was actually holding on to, so it could completely heal.
Okay, definitely tell me a little bit about NET.
Okay, so yeah, so NET was a gift given to me by my functional medicine doctor when we were dealing with all this. She's really into like, hey, about the trauma, how the body actually can tell something that's going on, that where you can't get that healing that doesn't is unexplainable, that your body might be holding on to trauma. Like the pancreas is one that really is one of the things that when you can't figure out what's your blood sugar dysregulation, anything that's going on, can have to do with the pancreas that's holding on to that trauma. So I work with, he's a chiropractor that specializes in NET, and also he does cranial facial release. He does like all these amazing things that I spent a year with him. So it's been this year that I've had this complete healing journey, and healed things that I had dealt with for over 20 something years. And so what he does is he does a little bit of like the muscle testing too, and then also by a series of questions to figure out where my body's actually, or the support that my body actually needs. And so one of the things that he actually like would find. So he would ask, go back to like ages. So he would like test the body to see in certain ages. And he was like, hey, so what happened to you? Like, is there anything that stands out when you were 16? And then he'll test, was it you? Was it somebody else? All the stuff like testing the whys and then end up find out. And then it will flick and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, that's what happened. So he goes into this part where you actually get into that exactly that emotion. So you have to feel it. The more you feel it, the better your body's able to actually truly release it. So went through that to like that feeling, and you have to stay in like you stay in a position, a certain like where you're holding on and to where you really truly feel it. And you feel it, and then when the feeling releases is then when you come out and you're just like, okay. And then you start to retest, and then we test also like nutrients and see what the body that body if your body needs support or is it needing that trauma, the release of trauma. So we did this in a series and it was amazing game changer. It's something I think that more people need to talk about is how the body sorts like the bladder. Like I just had, a client that was dealing a lot with like bladder issues and I'm like finding out that she was holding on to so much like trauma from, she had just gone through a divorce. And so a lot of it, so then we cleared up and went to and started working in the bladder, taking away trauma, working through all this. And then all the bladder issues went away down to like they say thyroid and nodules in the thyroid is people who are choosing that they didn't speak up. So the thyroid tells a lot, like if you can tell back that someone that didn't speak up and didn't like kept quiet when they really wanted to say things has to do with like a lot with like the thyroid.
How
But
very fascinating.
it is extremely fascinating, but I'm always like, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's the woo woo or this and that. But I'm going to tell you because I'm always one that I like to experience something and then I can talk about it. But it changed everything for me down to like, I went through some severe mold toxicity, which some people here might have gone through, and it can cause a lot of issues. Like I had issues because I had so much mold toxicity. When we tested, it was mostly a lot in my sinus cavities and some in my lungs, but so much in my sinus cavities, which caused me to have like almost vertigo feelings, but not vertigo. And I went through testing through the medical system, everything. We couldn't get feeling like I would have all of a sudden I'd be driving or I'd be working out and everything would go like I couldn't hear for like a few minutes and everything would go blurry and it was the worst feeling. Like my husband would like think he'd have to call the ambulance. So I went through this for like almost a year through this like process, and that also led me to this whole thing with him. And he did a process in this last year called it was cranial facial release, and they use a balloon and they put the balloon into your nose, this balloon system, and they pump it up. And when they do it, so we have like our whole nervous system here. A lot of times, like you go to a chiropractor, you work with a doctor, they're working on the body, but they never work here where our nervous system and the cranial system, where our nervous system actually lies. And so we never get really fixed. We never really truly heal because it's never worked into our cranial system where our nervous system lies. And so with that, when you're able to do that cranial facial, it actually moves the little muscles that the bones that they could never do to actually help with that alignment that takes off the pressure from the nervous system and the vagus nerve, which is the way that they can actually truly work that. It is amazing. I did that. And within like we did four sessions in a week. You do 4 sessions within that week. The whole ear thing, everything went away. It actually moved. I had a bump in my nose from earlier from being young. The devious moved all of that, opened that all up. But then too, this little mild anxiety that I'd had for so long completely went away because my nervous
Wow.
system was actually able to regulate.
Okay, I have a ton more questions on that for my clients, for myself. That is so fascinating. So please send me some resources on that so I can put it in the show
Yes.
notes because I'm sure other people are going to ask about it.
Oh yeah, and if anyone's
Fascinating.
in the Nashville, I mean, people fly to my doctor in Nashville from all over, and then you do it's a little, and then they have stuff called like SOT, and I can give you the link where if people ever want to look. So the SOT does the same thing. So now I do like follow up with SOT, which also still is working on the cranial system, and it's just adjusting down to the little bones in our cranial. Yeah.
I want
So,
my cranial bones adjusted, please.
oh yeah, no, they get into your mouth and do all the different movements and stuff. They say a lot of our stuff, the way that we have developed, even as a child, has caused a lot of these issues that we have, the way our
I
mouth
totally
has
believe
been
it.
developed. Yeah,
100% I believe that.
yeah.
Okay. I want to go back a little bit just because during your transition to menopause and even post-menopause, okay, you went on estradiol, you went on
Hmm.
progesterone, you went on thyroid hormone, you went on testosterone. You're trying to
Yes.
optimize your hormones with bioidentical replacement hormone therapy, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. And probably hoping like, okay, this perimenopausal, menopausal weight loss would just kind of magically go away. I see that all the time in my clients. They're like, well, I went on Synthroid and I went on estrogen and I went on testosterone. How much testosterone should I be on to lose weight? And I'm always like, girl, I've never seen anyone's hormones getting regulated through hormone replacement therapy cause a meaningful drop in weight.
Right,
Now, that's not to say it never happens because I
right,
know it does. But if those foundations aren't met and there's still insulin resistance and glucose dysregulation and a vagal nerve dysregulation, it's not going to happen just adding thyroid medication or estrogen and progesterone, testosterone. So tell me your
right.
story there. What happened when you went on hormone replacement therapy and did it still leave you in the lurch with weight loss?
Oh yeah, well I tell people, so my whole thing is like, yeah, I was on hormone therapy when I was gaining the weight. That was the thing is I was on hormone therapy because hormone therapy, and I tell all my people, they think, oh well maybe first I'll work on instead of working on insulin resistance, maybe I'll work on my hormones. And I'm like, well, why don't we work on them both together? Because the thing is if your insulin resistance is still there, you also are not going to be able to fully optimize your hormones. So that's the big key is like to do it. You have to be doing both to become the goal is to become fully optimized, and you have to be doing both to become fully optimized. And a lot of people can actually gain a little bit when you first start hormone therapy to know like testosterone therapy. You might have a little bit of water retention with that. But that's not going to be the cure for you to find weight loss. I see people come to me all the time on all the hormones, but they're still dealing with the weight gain. And so that's where you have to focus on insulin resistance is the biggest thing that so many women are dealing with that's causing them to feel in this stuck feeling. It's the puffiness that you feel. It's the weight gain that you're like, where did this come from? I've always had a flat stomach. I don't know what's going on right now. And that's what it is. And that's why when we start dealing with that and we start operating on really healing and supporting the body where the body needs to be supported, it's the side benefit is going to be the weight loss. I said it's the best side benefit that you can have. It's going to be that weight loss that you're going to have with that. And then the hormones should be there because to become fully optimized, we have to be optimized in our hormones. We have to be optimized in our nutrition. We have to be optimized in building muscle. And we have to make sure that our, insulin and blood sugar is not dysregulated.
Absolutely. And the latest research is showing us that women fare better when their hormones are optimized, specifically estradiol, and they're on a GLP-1. Weight loss is enhanced when
Right.
hormones are dialed in and they're on the GLP-1 or GLP-1 GIP. So
Exactly.
when did you become open to that idea of adding in a GLP-1?
Right. So I'll take you back. So in my program, Snatch Back Your Sexy, when the whole Ozempic came around, when people were all like, Ozempic was all over the news and all the celebrities and all this. And I would have women coming to me, and as an integrated practitioner, they're like, what do you think about this? And of course, I was like, no, do not do it because I wasn't educated. I gave an uneducated answer to people. But then I started thinking, and I know women, being in this business for 21 years, I know that if I'm going to tell someone no when it comes to weight loss, they are going to go do it because they want to lose the weight. So I was like, okay, I can either do this and help them like make sure their nutrition is on point, make sure that they're focusing on workouts. Because I would find the reason why women were having so many issues when there was a whole those Ozempic, all that phase was going on, it wasn't because of the actual GLP. It was because of the way of the dosing and the way we'd stop eating. And we watched this, and when people were all doing all the juice fast, and when what was it, Octavia, or all that stuff that was going on, always in the past, I would have all these women come to me. They were still having the same issues that these other women that were having, that they were saying like the side effects of GLP-1. So I knew it wasn't that. So I'm like, hey, what if I had a doctor on stuff. I'm like, what if we use this right? He goes, I'm already doing that in my clinic. And he was doing it more specifically for men. But he's like, I can do this in here with your program. And with women, and we can do this. Back then, it wasn't even microdosing, wasn't even talk. It was called we called it the low dose. We did low dose along with having people track. We did have them track their protein intake, making sure their caloric intake was right. I had them on progressive overload workouts. We were optimizing their hormones because that's what they were in there for, optimizing their hormones. And we all of a sudden would see data change with their diagnostic testing would all come back. Like everything was starting to change for people. So I saw that. At that point, I thought I was doing good. And then when things started getting where it was like, this is getting bad, where the Amazon clothes were baggy t-shirts, and I do not wear baggy clothes. As you know, you've known me for this last, like, I don't wear, like, I like cute clothes, and I did not feel comfortable in that. Um, that's when I was like, and then the A1C. So the A1C really got me because I know what that was doing to my body. And I watched my grandmother go through that and then end up with dementia. So I was like, I'm not going down that path, so I need to do something. So I said to him, hey, I don't have as much weight like these other women that had to have more weight loss that needed it. What if I did it and we just even did it lower? He's like, yes, we can totally do that. So that's what we did. And within the first week, I remember going out to eat with my husband and we were sitting down and I realized my blood sugar must have been dysregulated for many, many years. And I think it was so much of the thinking I was doing healthy with all the low carb diet, the keto dieting, everything you can imagine through the thing, thinking this was great. As a competitor, I was a competitor. I was also a competition coach too. We did crazy things. In the name of health, and it's so it's the whole thing that when I started doing it, and then like I was sitting with my husband, I go, I feel balanced. It was a weird feeling that usually we're sitting down, we go out to eat, and I'm like almost where it's like a kind of a shaky kind of feel like because my blood sugar was always so dysregulated, and I felt like perfectly in balance. And then the week after, then all of a sudden I felt like, oh, I noticed the inflammation started going down, and especially I noticed it in my hands as training. My joints always hurt in my hands, and I have to go, my mom had arthritis. Everyone in our family have arthritis. I'm like, that started going away, and I could like grip without like having to wear these Velcro grips that I always had to wear. And I was like, that started going away, and then noticing the changes like especially like my clothes started fitting looser. And I will tell you I weighed myself only because I'd gone to the doctor, remember, before all this. So I had weighed myself, but I never weighed myself in the whole process until a long time after it. And in the whole process, I might have lost like 11 pounds, but I had so much inflammation, like it looked like a different body. So my whole thing was I was working out 5, 6 days a week. I was getting in my protein, hitting all my macronutrients. I mean, like to the T, but I was puffy. You couldn't see the muscle definition that I had because there's so much inflammation that was going on in my body. So that started coming out, and all of a sudden I started seeing my muscle definition. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's there. Like seeing all of it and all of those, and it just kept getting better and better. And then, and then I started stacking peptides along with that too. But that was the key when I can tell people like the one thing that I did that checked off so many boxes that's got me to the place that I am now because I believe that it was all, leading up to you had to fix that had to be fixed before I could start all these other peptides. That it was the one thing that checked off so many boxes that nothing else could do because I did berberine, I even did metformin because we were like, let's just try that. That was that was still in like, in the whole community that I was in, metformin was, a longevity. We were using it for longevity aspects, but I felt horrible on it. It made me weak in the gym. Metformin made me weak in the gym. My stomach did not feel right on it. And I took this and felt amazing. I've never had one single side effect from it. I have had zero hair loss. I actually have to get my hair thinned. So any of that. I didn't have any of that, but it's all when you do things the right way and you concentrate on become fully optimized and you're not concentrating on like, I've got to lose 20 pounds in a week and you're just focused. I was telling someone today, I said, I had one thing that I did with this, I had no deadline. I didn't say if this doesn't work by this amount, this date, then that means it's just not going to work for me. I had no deadline. I didn't know because I didn't have anyone else to go by that was my height or weight that didn't have as much weight to lose that had results. So I didn't have anyone to compare to. So I just went along to this journey and kept to, I documented my journey along the way. But that's where I think the key is. But the thing is, when I took it, also the big thing is I already believed every time I did, I was like, thank you so much that you're going to this is helping heal my body. This is supporting my body. This is a messenger that's going in my body. And it's saying, and my body's speaking to it right now. And it's telling it where it needs to go, where it needs to balance, all those things that need to balance out. And I believe that it's so much we have to be here in our mindset also when we're wanting change in our health and healing. We have to already believe that it's already done, but we have to take away the comparison and we have to take away the time constraints that we put on everything to allow our body to feel balanced and to feel safe and to feel so it can heal.
Preach it, girl.
Yeah.
Amen. 100%. And that's one of the things I really do appreciate about you. I mean, your background is in this industry. It's been decades that you've been here. You've seen everything. And you just being balanced in your own journey, specifically with regards to exercise and nutrition, has
Mhm.
been so helpful and so inspiring for so many people. I remember a
Thank you.
post that you did where you're like, when I was on my weight loss journey, I didn't eat perfectly. I wasn't
Right.
tracking everything. I wasn't eating a perfectly clean diet. So, talk to us a little bit about that, what it looked like for you and what your mindset is around nutrition.
Yeah. So one of the things too, first we can go with the eat clean approach. And I try to tell people like eat clean is when people come to me and they're like, but I'm eating clean. And I would say, well, eating clean is not the key. So eating clean could be that, you're going into Whole Foods and you feel like, hey, I'm eating organic, am I doing all that? So we really have to, I believe that we need to be intentional. So I focus more on intentional nutrition and I believe in balance too because I think that we stress ourselves out so bad. I personally have before. And I was really big when as I told you the pro metabolic and I when I do something I have ADD, so it is 100 or zero. And so when I found out about pro metabolic eating, I was 100% like there was no like I didn't wouldn't touch any of the foods that did not follow in that pro metabolic plan, which can put stress on you. So that's another stressor that people do. They're so stressed at that on their, with the constraints on their eating. So when I started doing this, I kind of like I still kept those which I know health wise, what's good for my body and what works for my body, what's going to optimize. So I started thinking of food as how is this going to optimize in my body? So when I'm eating fruit and the carbohydrates, I know, hey, this is doing amazing things to my thyroid right now. So I look at it in that way. And then I look at like when I'm eating my animal protein and I'm getting that in of like, oh my gosh, this is like building that booty that I want. You know what I mean? And it's like so I started looking at food in that way. And then I started looking at to the enjoyment of when I would go out to eat with my husband and not worrying about like, oh my gosh, does this have like seed oil or like, freaking out on all those things and stressing out my body. And the balance of that. And I also too, at the time when I started doing when I started my GLP-1 journey, I actually quit tracking. And I quit tracking for that time because but the only reason why, and I'm gonna say this, I have a like mixed thing about the whole tracking. So one thing is I had spent many years being intentional. So I knew what a day looked like to get 130, 140 grams of protein. So that's really important to know. So I know sometimes people are like, oh, don't even worry about any of that. They try and just eat listen to your body intuitive. It is really hard to be an intuitive eater when you've never been intentional. It's because your body is not going to tell you. You don't know because your body doesn't have those cues to know what 140 gram of protein feels like and looks like in your body. So you have to spend some time being intentional. So I was able, because I was so intentional and spent so many years learning about what that looks like and about what works for my body. That I was able to go, hey, you know what? I'm going to kind of like just follow this and be looser and mine still follow with I eat protein fruits, get my potatoes, and that's consistency of my diet. But I also, my husband and I enjoy our date nights and I'm not worried and stressed out about what that's going to do. And I tell people like, I look at my whole nutrition as a bank account. And so I focus on how many deposits can I put in a day? Because if I put in as many deposits I put in a day or a week, then when I have that deduction, I'm not going to feel it. So I look at that. It's just the same in your bank account. So when you go and you have like you're putting all those deposits in, that one little deduction that you put, you don't feel it. You're not going to see it. And that's how I look at with all my, I'm just like, how many deposits can I put in? And so that's where I changed my way into thinking of my nutrition is I just focus on putting deposits in. And I don't stress out whenever there's a deduction there, because I know my body's going to be like just flow right with it.
So beautiful and a great analogy for women to take a lot of the stress out of their incessant tracking and macros and hitting all your goals and trying to get no seed oils and no gluten. I mean,
Yes,
really, like you said at the beginning, if your vagus nerve has you stuck in fight or flight mode all the time, your body's not healing anyway. And so it defeats the purpose to be so obsessive about your diet if that's putting you, into this stress mode all
exactly.
the time.
Well, I believe that our nervous system is one of the things that people are not talking enough about,
Yeah.
that we
Yep.
have to have a healed nervous system to be able to heal our body, but we're so focused on just that nutrition aspect of it and the supplementation, but the nervous system, if you cannot get into that calm state and get yourself out of there, you're going to have issues with your cortisol. You're going to have issues with your body's never going to be, your progesterone's going to be constantly, being depleted by being in that state. And so that's why I think it's so important. And that to me was like that helped that light switch flip on when I started the GLP-1s because I did all of this together. I didn't just say I'm going to just one thing. I know I'm like, no, I'm going to do a whole body approach and heal my body exactly what my body's needing it to do and to be in this place where I am now at getting ready to hit 56 and feeling better than I ever did in those states. And the reason why I feel better than I did in my 30s or even my 20s is because I had a dysregulated nervous system.
Yep. Yep, I see it all the time too. And it's the hardest thing for women to fix. They're like, diet, done.
Right.
Peptide, done. Supplement, I got this. Workout, hell yes. But regulate your nervous system, oh, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. No,
So,
totally. Or like, oh no, I don't want to. Yeah. When I tell people like some of the NT, they're like, okay. And I'm like, no, trust me. No.
so
You
give
want
us,
to see results, do all of that together and watch what happens when you just focus on yourself. And it is okay because so much of us women as moms, and I know I did too, I poured from an empty cup a lot. And we can't, I always tell people, I'm like, you are going to, when us as moms start pouring from that empty cup and we're like we constantly do it. And I know with 4 kids, club sports, all this stuff, everything that I did, running a businesses also in the same thing. You start to the goal is that we want to as moms, we want to love our kids, we want to love our spouse, we want to be in this love motion. That's why we do what we do because it's for love. But when you start constantly pouring from empty cup, you're going to start actually doing it out of resentment. And
mm,
that's not the place that we want to be in. So I always tell people
no.
like, fill your cup, take care of you, and watch how much love you can actually get and what the people around you actually feel.
Oh, so beautiful. Yeah, that's what we're equipped and designed to do as women is to
Hmm.
be nurturers and caretakers. And you're absolutely right. It does become like a almost this exercise in bitterness when you're like, well, I'm the only one
Hmm.
working. I'm the only one doing this. I'm the only one taking care of everybody. But you see it differently. When you feel good, you're like, oh, heck yes, I get to do this today. I get to take care of my husband. I get to take care of my kids and like show them that I love them. I love that. I would
Yeah.
love to hear maybe 3 particular things you do every day besides maybe NAT to regulate your own nervous system.
Yeah. So I do every day, I do a meditation. I do walking meditation. So Ed's huge. I do Joe Dispenza walking meditation. He has a great one. I absolutely love it. So meditation was something for me that was new that I added in a couple years ago. And that was the game changer. So it really allows me to actually be in a place of void where I'm not focusing on my body. And I love it. So I do, but I'm a person in movement. I do really well in movement instead of just the sitting part with me. So I found what works for me. And the walking meditation works for me. Also, I'm a nature person. I love to feel the sun, all of that. And so that's what I personally do. So that's my one thing that I do every day. And then I set my intention. who is it that I want to be? How do I want to show up? How do I want to show up for myself and for other people today? And so that's the intention that's set after that meditation of how that I show up. And one of the keys too that I do, I mean, I will say, I think the key is also is making sure that you nutrition part comes into it, because I think a lot of people, what they do is we go into this whole long fasting periods also, and we start all these great things out in the morning, but then we don't feed our bodies. And so I think one thing with me is I get like 45 grams of protein in first thing in the morning and start my body with that, with some protein and fruit, get my body going, get my body energized with that too. And I think that's made a really big difference, because I was a girl that went for hours to like 11:30 without eating. And I
Yeah.
wonder why I felt like all of a sudden, burn, like I'd be like great in the morning, and then all of a sudden, just like flat out. And that's one of the keys is that. But I will say, if in the one thing that my biggest thing that has been changed is my walking meditation. Like if I can, if when the days that I don't like, we just went on vacation and the weather was like bad and I don't have like my whole walking pad or anything where I could do, I felt myself really off. I fell off because I didn't have that time where I spent with just me. It's no one else. I don't even take my dogs for a walk when I do my walking meditation. It is just me.
Okay. Will you please send me over one of your walking meditations so I can put it in the show
Yes.
notes? Because I'm sure people
Yeah.
are going to ask about it.
Oh yeah, it's
I
my
love it.
favorite one. It's my bet. It's the best one, and I think that she does. So yeah, I've done a lot of them, but this is my favorite one.
Okay. And I do love, I mean, you're always sending us like inspirational videos or YouTubes or something about, mindset and whatnot. So I,
Hmm.
I definitely appreciate that about you.
Yeah, that's the one thing. So my thing too is like I was talking about, the one thing is in this health journey and everything that we do, we have to mindset so is huge. And we have to already, if we truly want what we want, we have to already, before we have that feeling of the truly healing or whatever it is that you want to manifest, you have to already become that. So when I started taking my GLP-1, or when I already became the girl, her that was already living this abundance in life and my health and my wealth. And so that's where I embodied that. So you have to embody that before you ever have the feeling. And if you embody that, then it's just naturally it's coming because it's there for you. But if we're constantly stuck into, I see people like, or let's just say I had a client, and she started off with me telling me I quit everything. I'm like, okay. She's like, I quit everything I do. And I'm like, all right, so let's start changing. But she'd already said it over and over again. She quit everything. I already knew she's going to quit this. She's already told herself she's going to quit it. She already embodied the quitter instead of the person where she said, you know what, I have done this. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to complete this. I'm going to be in the healthy version of myself that I want. I'm going to accomplish everything that I want. She already became that. And that's just like some people are when we put a date. So like in manifestation and when I do walking, there's no timeline. There's no such thing as time. So when you take that away and you're truly in the moment and you've already embodied of what it visualize of what it is, and you already feel that and you embody that person. So what is the person that's a healthy person? What are they going to do when they wake up in the morning? Are they going to wake up in the morning and go straight for their phone and start like go on social media so they can compare and do all this stuff? Or are they going to wake up and they're going to go for a walk, or they're going to read, or they're going to, practice self-care on themselves to have that intention of how they want to have that day? How are they going to eat? How is that person that you want to be, the vision? How is that? What is that? What does she do? What does she do in the day? Does she wait until 12 o'clock? Does she have 3 cups of coffee and wait till 12 o'clock to eat and then crashes out? No, she has her breakfast in the morning. She makes sure 4 or 5 hours later, she's getting another thing of protein, maybe some fruit, in their potato, whatever it is. She's going to make sure that she keeps her blood sugar regulated. She's going to fill her cup. She's going, do the things. She's going to focus on building muscle. That's the whole thing is if you can embody it. I mean, I embody it down to what I know that it's going to look like what I wanted, like clothes to feel on me, how it felt to have those clothes to pick up those jeans and not go, oh, or I always visualize my thing was I wanted to wear a bathing suit 365 days out of the year and never once go, I don't feel like I can I have to wait until like a week or two to put that bathing suit on.
And if you guys want to see if she achieved that goal, go check out her
Oh,
Instagram. Mission accomplished, my friend. So,
uh,
okay, two things I want to ask you really fast. Number one, you said 45 grams of protein for breakfast. I get that question all the time. You probably
uh-huh.
do too. What do I eat for breakfast to get that much protein?
So I switch it up. I always believe too, you shouldn't like don't have eggs every single day. Because we want that variety. That's how some people can have like histamine reactions. People are like, I tested positive on food testing. And I'm like, well, do you eat that every day? Yes. So it's going to naturally show up like that. But you just naturally, so I like to, I call it like will switch up my protein. Like, so sometimes I'll do, so the one thing I see people's mistake is they think one egg or two eggs is their protein. And it's not, you're only getting like close to like 10 grams. So what I'll do, so if I love like whole eggs, I get them at my farmer's market, love them. I'll have like, let's say I put two eggs, then I'll maybe have a cup to 3/4 cup of egg whites in there. Or I'll take the egg whites and then I'll get like this really good organic chicken sausage that I absolutely love. And I'll put that in there. And that's 30 grams of protein right there. So you can add things in, or let's say I'm not a cottage cheese person that much, so but you could have cottage cheese, that will add another 20 grams. It's to add up, that protein, or, some people when you're first starting off and you've been like fasting and you're like, I'm not hungry in the morning, which not being hungry in the morning is a sign of a slower metabolism. So it is a cue, your hunger cues are something that's super important. It can tell your body where your body's at. I wake up and I am hungry within like 30 minutes after waking up. It wasn't always like that. So sometimes, let's say that you maybe are one that's fasted and you're like, hey, I don't really even like to eat breakfast in the morning. Find a good protein shake. Because I figured that most people can do protein shakes because they can slowly do it. They can do good with that. So find like a good high quality protein shake, get a beef protein isolate or one, I've been experimenting with a lot of different ones lately, but get a good protein shake, have that with not just protein by itself. Throw in a banana, throw in some fruits in there, get those carbohydrates in there. You never want to just have a protein by itself to keep that blood sugar regulated or carbohydrate by itself. Throw in either some fats in there or some carbohydrates to keep that blood sugar regulated.
Oh, so good.
But
Very
yeah,
helpful.
so little things like that, just it's like adding. Okay. And the other thing is people are like, I have a hard time getting the protein. So let's say that you were eating 4 ounces of chicken. Okay. You eat 4 ounces of chicken breast and you're still having a hard time maintaining. You don't have to add anything to it. Just have 5 ounces. 6 ounces, so just 5 to 6, add in different ounces. You're not going to feel it that much. And that way, then you're going to bump up your protein. It's not about constantly like feeling that you have to keep adding more meals. It's just add to what you already have.
Habit stack.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
beautiful. Okay, as we close out, you and your husband have been on a peptide journey together. Clearly, you guys can see you are thriving in midlife. So
Oh,
tell
thank
us quickly your peptide stack and your husband's peptide stack. You're almost 56. How old is he?
He's 56.
He's 56. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you guys on right now? And then what does the future look like for you?
Okay. So it varies what we're on, but right as of now, so both of us, so we do the GLP-1/GIP, micro on that. He's actually on a smaller amount than I am. But so thing with him is that his whole family has high blood pressure. And Sean is like so in shape. He's got tons of muscle. Doesn't have any body fat, like, but he still could not get his blood pressure. No nutrition, nothing would not change it. So that's how he started his GLP-1 journey. Is we're like, hey, let's try this. He did a small amount and he's been off blood pressure medications now for 7 months. I
Wow.
think 7 or 8 months.
Wow.
Maybe 8 months, yeah. Completely. Within like a month, it was just like a crazy thing. And he's been like high to where if he went into like one time he hurt like if he hurt himself or anything we had to go to like we would be in there they would keep us in there for a day because his blood pressure they're like who we can't let him leave. So he takes a GLP-1. We both do GLP-1/GIP. That's what I recommend for everyone. That's my go-to. but that, and then so we're doing a micro protocol with that, and then sorry, my dog's gonna start crying here. But then and then we use we both are on we both take tesamorelin and ipamorelin. We're on a cycle of that right now. We're both on our second cycle. So we did the first 60 days. We took a couple of weeks break, a 2 week break, and then we're back on the second one. So we take that. I always have NAD. NAD is I never not have that. So I do NAD. Like we just came back from Mexico. I took it with me. It's one of my ones I do. It's my pre-workout. So I do NAD before I work out 3 times a week. So that's my go with that. And then every Sunday I do, which is not a peptide, but I do glutathione. And I do that every single Sunday. So that's like my Sunday stack. And that's like, I say like, that's kind of like the cleanup crew. So I look at your peptides are, like your construction crew, like going in, they're doing all the work. And then when you do that, you're going to have toxicity and so certain things that might, as it's released, and especially when your body's releasing fat and stuff like that. So then glutathione comes in and it's like the cleanup crew. So it's my cleanup on Sunday. I don't do any other peptides on Sunday. So I just do glutathione. So I do that. And then what else are we on? I'm
You're
like
doing
trying to think.
BPC?
Oh yeah, BP. Well, right now I hurt my back. Deciding I was going to do boxing and do like a reverse back kick and then jump onto a rope and climb a rope. It was a challenge that someone did, and I didn't feel it, but then I felt it like when I went to go do a heavy row, and I was like, oh my gosh, I think like I didn't stretch. We were on vacation. I didn't stretch after I did that or anything. So I've been taking BPC, and it's been is a game changer on how I was able to even like move. So I do BPC, especially I had surgery done a couple of months ago. I use BPC, and then my one that I know I can't forget about. I don't do Botox or fillers, so I do GHKCU.
Yep.
And
Beautiful.
that's my go-to. So I love GHKCU. I use it in injectable, but I also use the serum. So the company that I get my stuff from, the telehealth company, the pharmacy has the most amazing. It's a serum. It has GHKCU in it. It has NAD in it. It has vitamin C. It has tretinool in it. It is amazing. Like it took away like any like sunspots and stuff that I had. I use it 3 times a week.
That's on my list. That's my next one I'm ordering.
And it is so like I tell people like it is the most like affordable because I went into this little like spa treatment place that we went to over here in Boca, and they were trying to like sell me the skin stuff, and I was like, and I compared it, I'm like, it like this one is like 2 months worth is what they wanted for like, maybe it lasts me a week. But I love it. Everyone that I turn on to it, they're like, this is the best ever. Yeah. So it's really good. So I think it's great you put something on the outside and then on the inside.
100%. Oh, I love it. I could talk about peptides with you all day. You've been so helpful in my own journey. I
Oh,
really
thank you.
appreciate you coming on today, Lee, and I know how busy you are. Where can people find out more about you and what you do?
Yep, my Instagram. So my Instagram's where I keep everything. So it's just at Lee Anne Dunson, LeeAnne Dunson. And yeah, that's where I like to educate there, tell my story. And on my reels, I have fun with my reels and then in my stories. And you'll
Yeah,
see
she
my
does.
husband pop in there too at times.
I love it when Sean makes an appearance.
Yeah, and then yeah, so I know I make him. I'm the one like, all right. He's so as you can see, I'm in his office, so he's like award-winning songwriter, and he does like he's a director. So he doesn't like my reels. I'm like, it's a 5 minute, and he wants to plan it all out. So I'm like, no, we're not planning. I'm ADD. We don't plan things out.
It's go
It is
time.
go time, yeah. But he's always game. He's willing to do it for me.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have any closing thoughts for us today, Liam?
I would just say like the thing I just kept stressing about is to remember that this is your own journey, and don't look and compare or know how much what I'm doing or what Jennifer's doing or anything like that. Listen to your body. We have been taught as women for so long to ignore what our body's telling us. We've ignored our hunger cues by being told to put gum in our mouth or to put mouthwash in our mouth, to ignore our hunger cues. We've been told to ignore how what our body's actually speaking to us. So I challenge you to get into your body and to listen. And that might take that you need to actually set alarms on your phone. Because if you haven't listened to your body for a really long time, it's really hard to start. So set alarms on your phone and spend a minute, just a minute, 30 seconds, a minute, and listen to what your body's telling you and learn that and to get that back into yourself again and it to become a habit because it's just like learning to drink water, to tell yourself to set alarms to drink water. Set alarms to your body to listen to your body. Listen to what your body's telling you. And then I always believe like a balanced body, the side benefits you're going to have, if you're looking for amazing hair, you're looking for your skin and all that, those are going to be the side benefits for listening to your body, what your body's telling you, what it needs to do. And then adding in these tools. These are just tools. They're amazing tools, but you have to lay that foundation. The foundation's so important, but take away all the time constraints and anything and just be on your own journey.
Beautiful. Beautifully said from a beautiful woman. I again
Oh, thank
appreciate your
you.
time today, Leanne. Thank you so much.
No, I love it. Thank you for having me.